о самых сложных проблемах, стоящих перед современным миром. Присылайте ваши вопросы заранее на наш email info@rusa.fm или во время передачи по СМС 347 460 08 77.
Добрый день всем, кто сейчас настроен на радио РУСА. В эфире передача Thank God It's Tuesday, потому что сегодня вторник, и слава Богу, что сегодня вторник, потому что этот час мы проводим с самым мудрым, самым замечательным раввином нашего времени, раввином Манисом Фридманом. Это большая честь, что он отдает нам это время еженедельно и дает нам позитивный взгляд на жизнь. И вот как раз вот об этом мы сегодня должны будем поговорить, потому что очень много всего происходит в мире. Мир буквально переворачивается с ног на голову, и как ко всему к этому относиться, как оставаться позитивным, как продолжать понимать, что все происходит так, как оно должно быть, и как к этому правильно относиться. Вот именно на эту тему мы сейчас поговорим с нашим самым-самым дорогим, самым любимым ведущим радио РУСА, раввином Манисом Фридманом. Забыла представиться. Меня зовут Анна Пекерман. Все, не теряя ни секунды, перехожу к нашему совершенно потрясающему раввину. Rabbi Manis Friedman, hello, thank God it's Tuesday. I hope you had a wonderful holiday of Shavuot.
Baruch Hashem, thank God it was wonderful. 3 days.
Too short, as always, all our holidays, even though they seem to be long, they just go by very, very quickly. And of course, the entire time we've been saying that the whole purpose of the world is to create this world, a dwelling place for God. This was the whole idea of why God gave us the Torah, explained to us what He needs from us, how we should be conducting ourselves. And we're all very excited about creating such a place for God. And then we come out of this phenomenal holiday of Shavuot when we receive the 10 Commandments, the morality of the world. I turn on my phone, and I don't think not only God doesn't want to be here, I'm not too sure I want to be here. Oh, Rabbi Friedman, so much is happening, and more and more. It's been 2 years since we've been talking about that the good and the evil are separating, and the evil is revealing itself. And boy, is it revealing itself. So basically today I would like to speak with you and get your wonderful, positive Torah perspective on how we should be living these days, thinking these days, understanding what is happening to the world these days, because a lot is happening.
A lot. There used to be a big debate. It seemed like a legitimate debate, a valid. The question that was debated was, do you need religion or do you need God to be moral? Can't you be moral without it? And in some places they're still debating this. But anyone who looks at the world today has the answer, the conclusive, convincing answer. See, here's the basic problem. Can't I be moral without God telling me? Of course you can. But you will be making up and inventing and defining what morality is. So you will think you're being moral. That's the whole problem. The problem is not people who intend to be bad. Those are the fringe lunatics. The really dangerous people are the ones who think they're doing good, but good of their own invention. That's what we're seeing today. I decide that my lying is good. that my killing is good. So I'm the one who's being good. How do you argue with that? So the really convincing answer from seeing what's going on, there is no goodness without God. There isn't. It's wishful thinking. So the Torah really is our last hope. And it's a good one, because it was also our first hope. It started that way, and we're going to conclude that way. In between, we had this huge experiment. How can we make our way without God? We tried every combination. We tried every which way, even new religions and new gods. Nothing worked. And when it doesn't work, it is so ugly.
Rabbi Fridman, speaking about ugly, this is actually a few things that I'm sorry, but we do need to talk about because they're happening right now. And it's just, how should the people react to what's happening, or what should they, I'll just go by certain specific things. You know, the area that personally bothers me the most, and I'm sure I'm not original in this, is what is happening with the children. I mean, we're now in the midst of Pride Month, pride of being able to sexually be whoever you want to be, and that's fine. I guess those freedoms, people should be able to have those freedoms in today's society. I'm not sure. I'm not the judge or the jury on this one, but when the children are becoming involved in this, and what I'm speaking about precisely is that over the weekend there was Drag Your Kids to Pride event where parents took their children to see a drag show. A drag show is, for those who don't know, is when men wear women's clothing, and they usually provocative women's clothing, and and they act very, I'm sorry, the word is sexy, and the kids are participating in this and stuffing dollars into those performers, giving them dollars. Also in New York, there is such a thing as a drag story time, where drag queens read stories to kindergartners, and we're doing this for our tax dollars. It's sponsored by the government of New York City. So, things like that are happening, and it's, again, I know we spoke about it, but I can't not be bothered by it, and I'm sure, again, I'm not the only one. Why are we sexing kids? How are we supposed to be teaching them morals when the whole society is teaching them that they should start thinking about sexual stuff from pretty much the time they're born, and identify themselves certain ways and be very proud of it? What is this Pride Month, and why are the children all of a sudden so involved in it, and what should we do? I'm sorry. I think I was able to express myself more or less.
I think we need some definitions. The definition of marriage used to be the union of a man and a woman, or more properly, the reunion of two parts of the same soul, separated at birth, coming back together through marriage. So marriage used to be, by definition, the reunion of a man and a woman. Sex used to mean a personal, intimate connection between a man and a woman. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a man and a woman. but it's still an intimate connection between two people. What they're showing children is not even sex. It's not about two people. It's not about intimacy. It's not about connectedness. It's not men and women. It's not men and men. It's not women and women. It's not sex. It's just vulgarity. There's no relationship. That's how a society becomes extinct. So to even call it sex is an insult to sex. It's not even that. So what could possibly be the motivation? Sex used to be a motivation. This is not about sex. This is simply to destroy all decency and to erase all moral impulse in people. Just absolute barbarians. No restraints, no restrictions, no right and wrong, no beautiful and ugly. This is destruction. How more blatant can evil be?
In my opinion, this one takes the cake, but
And the shocking thing is, parents are not outraged.
that's the surprise, that the parents actually took their children to this event to accomplish what? Or are they so confused themselves?
By legal definition, can those parents be guilty of child abuse or neglect? There used to be this thing called corruption of the morals of minors. That used to be a crime. Corrupting the morals of minors used to be a crime. Today, if I wanted to corrupt a child's morals, what would I do? What would be considered corruption? You know, we always say we've reached the bottom. This is it. Can't get any worse, but I'm not saying that anymore. Yeah. Parents should take their children out of public school by the millions. What are we allowing this? What is this? And we're not talking about religion, we're not talking about piety, we're not talking about spirituality, we're talking about basic sanity. Parents gotta react. There's nobody else gonna protect your kids. So God warned us of this. The prophets all warned us of this. And King David in Tehillim says, you will sacrifice your children to demons and spill their blood for no reason. It seemed like an exaggeration. Who would do that? We're doing it. Sacrificing our children for the sake of what?
Unfortunately, Rabbi Fridman, it seems like to be on the same page with the children. It's like if you can't fight them, join them. Otherwise, children come home and say, you don't understand, you're not with it, this is progress, and this is how the world is, you're old school. And unfortunately, some parents, they just want that connection with their children, and they're ready to hang on to anything. But I agree 100% that it's it can't happen.
You know, it's such a contradiction, because I don't know if we've ever had more attentive parents in history. You don't let your kid walk down the street without a helmet, without a mask, without an EpiPen, in case they bump into a peanut. What are they called? Helicopter mothers? Right? We're so careful, we're so protective, we're so much involved in the child's life. But if he wants to have an operation to massacre himself, yeah, with the helmet and the EpiPen and the diet, God forbid he should eat something not so absolutely healthy, or breathe air that isn't. But when it comes to the real issues, nothing, no protection.
Friedman, but the narrative there for the parents is save your children because they'll commit suicide if you don't let them be what they want to be, what they feel like being. And unfortunately, children are being groomed to be certain things. I don't think we ever had such a situation where people needed to choose their gender. And actually, that brings me to the next question is, why are men trying so hard these days to be women? What changed in the world that bearded guys are now claiming that they identify themselves more as women, want to use the women's restrooms and breastfeed, give birth? What's going on with men these days?
Oh man, this is another hypocrisy, contradiction. The public school teachers were never allowed to voice their values or their beliefs or their religion. What happened to that? They're still not allowed to say anything religious, but they can tell their children, their students, their values and their beliefs and their morals, and preach to the kids. They've become preachers. What happened? But they're still not allowed to mention God. It's very, very interesting. More women, girls, are desperate than boys, than men. Funny thing. When men get verblunget and totally confused, they'll opt to become women. When women are frustrated with their own gender, they just become suicidal. Mostly.
I hear you.
Of course, there are those who want to become men, but most women who are disenchanted with being women don't want to become men. They got no place to go. So it's a real compliment to women. When men don't want to be men, they'll become women. If a woman doesn't want to be a woman, becoming a man is not such a pleasant option. And so they're left with no option. So it's... Anyway, this is pure insanity. That's all it is. Even discussing it, even talking about, trying to make it sound like it's scientific, it's natural, it's in a very cold-blooded manner. Go ahead. Go right ahead. It won't last very long. You'll be gone very soon. So what are we worried about? The crazies are killing themselves, okay? 10 years from now, the only people still functional will be people who follow the Torah. So that's it. The world is ours.
Rabbi Fridman, it would be great if it would be only the crazies, but it's also the confused, and the confusion is unfortunately sky high. And in circles of people that I know that come from good moral families in today's society, their daughters had some sort of psychological problems, went to a psychiatrist, explained that they have hard time finding a mate, and the psychiatrist said, well, why don't you try a woman? And, boom, there's a wedding between one woman and another woman, because the psychiatrist, these are people that we're supposed to trust. These people are supposed to give us good advice. That's why we go to them. And unfortunately, this lovely couple who had good values and morals had to go and see their daughter marry off another lady. So, and there's nothing they can do about it. They still want a relationship with their daughter.
And they should. But again, how long can that go on? Like a little thing online that says, I want to thank straight people for giving birth to me. Without straight people, none of us would be here. So, no, but that's a cold-blooded exaggeration. Of course, the scars that will be left, the heartache, it's horrible. So we really need to champion what is right and true and kosher and holy more than ever. Go on the offensive, not on the defensive. The offensive means celebrate what we have, celebrate what is true and what is good, but celebrate it loudly to counteract the effects of the corruption.
Rabbi Fridman, you asked the best question. How long can it take for this crazy to kill itself? Unfortunately, nobody wishes death upon anybody, but realistically, we want the crazy to go, not those who are affected by it.
Yeah. So that's why we have to be a clear, loud voice of sanity and role models. People are ultimately, bottom line, people are attracted to two things: pleasure and idealism. If we make ourselves a little more visible so that people see the pleasure that we have living the way we live and the idealistic convictions and commitments to doing the right thing, that combination, a pleasurable ideal, whoa, that always wins. So we just have to be infinitely grateful and thankful that we have some sanity, and we can't keep it a secret.
Rabbi Fridman,
not by attacking or condemning. There's plenty of that going on. It only makes it worse.
Rabbi Fridman, but we have some very interesting representatives in high places. By meaning us, I mean Jewish people, and unfortunately, but the representatives with a voice in high places that are saying interesting stuff, it's a matter of interpretation, such as Yuval Harari, who is supposed to be this great historian from Israel, and he is the leading voice of the World Economic Forum, and people are quoting him left and right, and his big thing is that people are hackable. Are we hackable? What kind of statement is that? That artificial intelligence knows better who we are and what we are than ourselves, and in order to be happy and live a good life, this is the strategy, and that unfortunately that's being voiced very loudly by people in power.
I have no idea what that even means. But it's so old. It's so old. What was the original idolatry? You create something and then you worship it. Who created artificial intelligence?
We did.
Why are you worshiping the manufacture of your own hands? You create it and then worship it? That's such an old idea. I thought we outgrew that already. Guess we still have some growing to do. I don't even know what that means. Too deep. So, again, it's not a question even of religion or faith. It's a question of sanity. So, started off asking, can you be moral without God's commandments? That's not even on the agenda anymore. Now the question is, can you be sane? Can you be sane without God's commandments? Seems pretty clear that you can't. And the only sanity that we have is because our grandfathers knew what God wanted. I don't know if they were committed to it, but they knew. So that sanity kind of passed on to the children and to the grandchildren, but it's fading quickly, because if we don't have our own sanity, the inherited sanity is not going to carry us. So whatever morality there is, like this guy says, I don't need God to tell me what's right and wrong. It's an arrogant college student. He says, I know right from wrong. I don't need God to tell me. I said, really? Tell me, what do you think is wrong? He says, murder. I said, did you come up with that yourself? When did that come to you? When did you realize that? When did you have that epiphany? Don't be ridiculous. You heard that all your life. Everybody heard it because God said it to Adam and Eve and to Noah and to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai, and he engraved it in stone. Don't tell me it's your idea. So whatever morality we do have, we simply plagiarized it. Now you claim it's your morality? No.
Rabbi Fridman, speaking about killing, this is one of the biggest topics out there right now. Obviously, it has to do with shooting in Uvalde, and of course, everybody is now trying to get guns off the streets. In accordance to Torah, to morality, should people own guns? Should they have the right, like the American Constitution allows us to own a gun? Is that a good idea? Is that a moral idea? Or is it something that, as people are saying, should be revised? The second commandment.
You know, Jewishly speaking, guns are so foreign to Jewish life that we're kind of biased in this. I don't know anybody who has a gun in Brooklyn, of all places. Who Like every television show, every movie, it's a perfectly normal family and everything. And then all of a sudden they reach into their drawer and take out their gun. So what's a gun doing there? Guns are just part of the furniture? Everybody has a gun? What is that? Do you have a right to own a gun? Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you worried that you're going to need to protect yourself against a government? You'll never have enough guns for that. But gun control is not the answer. It's not the answer. We don't need to control guns. We need to control murder. God didn't say thou shalt have no guns. God said thou shalt not murder with the gun you have. So don't blame it on the gun. So what's missing is not gun control. What's missing is self-control. And this last shooting is particularly disturbing because of the fact that he killed his grandmother. The one person in his world, in his life, who loved him and took care of him and was there for him was his grandmother. And he shot her. And he himself very cold-bloodedly says, I had nothing against my grandmother, but I needed the numbers. I needed to kill more and more people, so I needed the numbers, so I killed her. Now that is deeply disturbing. First of all, the fact that there's no conscience. And secondly, that he actually was looking to be proud of how many people he killed. He holds the record now. Something to be proud of. I don't know if people notice, but they should. What he was doing was playing a video game. That's what he was doing. He was acting out a video game. What is the objective in the video game? Shoot as many people as you can. That's exactly what he was doing. He became a video game. And all the experts who say that those violent video games don't affect children, they should all be in jail. They are the ones who are responsible, not the kids. So if you grow up, and that's the one thing they all have in common, by the way, all the school shooters, they're all young and they're all addicted to video games. That is not a coincidence. I mean, you almost can't even hold them responsible. Beside the fact that they're underage. But even if they're 18, which this guy was, is he responsible? I don't think so. I think he's a victim.
Rabbi Friedman, but it looks like we're going towards that as well because of the metaverse. Now the metaverse creates people and they become avatars of their own computer games. So they actually are becoming those characters in computer games. And how easy is it to lose perspective of reality, whether you're inside a video game or you're no longer inside a video game? I mean, if people are getting confused before they actually had their own character in the video game, what are we looking forward to over here?
I wouldn't be surprised if in the mind of this 18-year-old, all those people are going to get up, push the reset button, and start all over again and shoot him again. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm quite convinced that that is what's going on in the brain of many of these addicted kids. That you can shoot a bunch of people, and then you kind of rack up some number, and then you push start, and you start all over again. I'm not sure he even knows that he killed people. He knows he shot them. So that it's not damaging is such a blatant and callous lie. We need the wisdom of Torah because there is no other.
Rabbi Fridman, why is it taking people so long to see the reality, to understand where we're at right now? I mean, people are waking up. There is no doubt about it. I'm not sure. They're still hopeful that, we're going to become Republican, that, there's going to be different government, different set of rules. Somebody's going to come. People are waking up, but they're still they're still hopeful for some sort of here now savior. What will change people around so they will understand that we need the savior, not a Band-Aid?
Well, look, we've always believed that there is a core decency to human beings. We are not born evil. We're born vulnerable, but not evil. So, how much evil can a human soul tolerate? Particularly if we did once know right from wrong. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So there's going to be a backlash. The pendulum will swing in the opposite direction, as it always does, but then it goes to the extreme on the opposite side and creates its own problems again. And that's why the Torah is the only true sanity without extremism. Anybody who studies the Torah with any seriousness, can't come away without the conviction that this is sanity. It's not extreme right, it's not extreme left. It's sanity. And it also happens to be godly. Surprise, surprise. So let's say something about Shavuos that we just came from. We just received the Torah for the 3,334th time. Yeah, 34.
Yep.
So we say in the Haggadah on Pesach, that list of Dayenu. Remember the Dayenu? If God had taken us out of Egypt without, or if God had taken us across the sea without drying the bed, the seabed for us, we would have said Dayenu. If He had led us through the desert and didn't give us food from heaven, we would say Dayenu, and so on. Dayenu means enough reason to be thankful. But then there's the strange one that says, if He had brought us near to Mount Sinai and hadn't given us the Torah, that would have been enough to be thankful for. What in the world does that mean? Take us out into the desert, gather us around a mountain that was not very impressive. That's good enough? It's good for what? So there are many commentaries, like, for example, gathering us at Mount Sinai means giving us the 10 Commandments, but not the rest of the Torah. But that's not what it says. It doesn't say anything about the 10 Commandments. It says if He had brought us closer to Mount Sinai For that we would be thankful. Why? Because we got to see the thunder and the lightning? What is that? So if you read it just slightly, with a different punctuation, if he had brought us near in front of Har Sinai, not if he had brought us near to Har Sinai, if he had embraced us at Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah, we would have plenty to be grateful for. So the Hebrew word kervanu, draw us near. So conventionally we say he brought us near to Mount Sinai, but that doesn't really say that. It says he brought us near in front of Mount Sinai. But near to what? To himself. In other words, if he had simply said, I took you out of Egypt because I'm really interested in you, and then didn't tell us how to pursue that relationship, but just that closeness, that intimacy alone, we would have to say thank you. Then we're told that the event at Mount Sinai cannot be repeated. It will never be repeated. It's a one-time thing. And that also needs a little insight because, would it be terrible to have that experience again? In fact, if I was God, I would make sure that it happens every year. You got to keep people inspired, The idea of it is, when God brings us to Mount Sinai and says, I have a personal interest in you, be mine and I will be yours. The surprise. Who would have thought? Sure, God is a judge, and where there is injustice, he intervenes and punishes the bad guys and helps the good guys. But personal? Intimate? I am yours, be mine? Whoa! Now, you can't surprise us twice with the same thing. The surprise is over and we will never again be surprised. So yes, God can bring us back to Mount Sinai and repeat the commandments and review, take notes, get your tape recorders out, and yeah, you could do that. But what can never happen again is the surprise. That pleasant shock. You're interested in us? That's bringing us close in front of Mount Sinai. So if God had said, look, I am your God. I am the God of Israel. That's how I identify myself to the whole world. And when Mashiach comes, what's going to be so great? All the nations will praise God as the God of Israel. Pretty personal. Of course, we had no choice but to reciprocate. So we said, sure, whatever you want. What else can you say when God says, I'm yours? So we say, well, then we are yours. Now, how do we go about this? I'm not even interested. The surprise, the real shock was, we are intimately entwined with each other. Sure, I'll find out how to do it, but tomorrow, right now, I'm too excited, right? So a man proposes marriage to a woman and she's like, whoa, where are we going to live? Can we save that for tomorrow? Do we have to get down to Of course we're going to work it out and we're going to find a perfect place to live and a perfect way to go about. But you get over the surprise that quickly? Like, savor it for a little bit.
Ваши голоса звучат ясно.
Not yet, not yet.
And maybe that's why there is no particular mitzvah on Shavuos. We don't blow the shofar, we don't eat matzah, we don't build a sukkah. What do we do on Shavuos? We're just enjoying the shock, the pleasant surprise. And now, the day after, now we got to get down to the details. So if we really want to help save the world, and that is not an exaggeration or a poetic sentiment, if you want to save the world, at least the world that you can influence, a little more Shabbos, a little more kosher, a mezuzah on your door, a charity box in your kitchen. That is so powerful because it is so true, it is so wise, it is so sane.
Rabbi Fridman, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for turning the darkness into light every week with inspiration, insights, sanity. And I'm very, very excited to announce to our listeners that we will be seeing you in person on Staten Island at Jewish Russian Learning Center, which is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. No, I know, thank God it's Tuesday. It just keeps on giving. So on June 14th, on Tuesday, anybody who, and I don't know who might not want to, but anybody who looks forward to seeing Rabbi Fridman, please get in touch with Jewish Russian Learning Center on Staten Island, 44 Oswald Avenue, and the phone number is 718-569-5593. This is super exciting. The whole Staten Island is looking forward to. People from Brooklyn and New Jersey and anywhere are also welcome. Rabbi Fridman, we cannot wait to greet you on Staten Island in 1 week from today. Thank you so much. And of course, we always look forward to Thank God It's Tuesday here on Radio USA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna.
Всем, кто нас слушал, я хочу сказать огромное спасибо. Спасибо, что вы ищете добро, что вы хотите знать, понимать и просто жить хорошо, позитивно и помогать другим делать то же самое. Поэтому еще раз скажу по-русски, что с Рабби Фридманом можно будет увидеться, пообщаться вживую на Стэттен-Айленде в Jewish Russian Learning Center. Есть такое замечательное место на Стэттен-Айленде, 44 Освальд-стрит. Позвоните по телефону, если вы хотите узнать больше информации, 718-569-5593. Jewish Russian Learning Center. Ровно через неделю в 7 вечера Рабби Фридман будет там. С ним можно будет сначала услышать совершенно гениальные умные вещи, которые он нам постоянно рассказывает, задать ему вопросы и просто пообщаться с умным, гениальным, светлым человеком. Поэтому еще раз хочу всех поблагодарить и пригласить на эту встречу. Всего хорошего. Прощаюсь со всеми до следующей недели.